calling them.
Hey, Sean, hold on a second. Do you mind if I record this so that other people on our team can also see it?
No, I don't
Or
mind at all. Don't mind at all.
because I mean, we like to share this important message. I mean, what you're talking about, with the multi skills training, that's the way to go to get better, higher skilled people, and then also talk about providing the leadership skills and personal development skills that make it all happen. Yeah.
It's been interesting because the learning leaders who then teach high school students, their biggest takeaways seem to be the leadership and communication skills, which really astound me. Who I would think it'd be like, well, wouldn't it be how to hook up a hot water heater or to, set up a main panel of a house? No, their biggest takeaways
Huh.
are being able to communicate and lead a group, which is it's astounding, but it's
I
interesting.
saw
So
that
we
in the
got
videos of some of the people that went through, and that was interesting. And I thought of it. Oh, well, maybe perhaps you got kinds of people that was super important for. But I
it
guess you're
keeps
taking
coming
any
up.
people, right? You're saying
We did,
anyone.
yeah. We'll take anybody. For the learning leaders, you got to be over 18, and that's kind of it. They don't have to come in with anything other than
Hmm.
being 18 and over, excited to learn, and that's it.
Are you running a program this year?
Yes, a couple. So we got the learning leaders, and then we got the high school kids. So it's been an interesting to be at a public high school and then also at a private high school. The high schoolers get a much smaller thing. So the learning leader level is like 900 hours a year, an academic year.
Yeah.
And the high school kids get about 150 hours in an academic
Right.
year. Um, and the tiny house takes probably 600 hours to build. That's what it takes to build. So you're
Six
figuring
hundred
out
hours
how.
about, yeah.
You know,
Including the
so
trailer, or you buy a trailer?
we've actually switched away from the trailer, which has made it easier to build but way harder to move. So the first 6 years I was doing them on trailers. In the last 2 years, we're doing no trailers, all because of basically the value it provides to the person who gets it at the end. So it's kind of amazing that on a trailer, easier to transport, more flexible, but it's a depreciating asset like an RV. You put the same thing on a permanent concrete foundation, and it becomes an appreciating asset.
Oh, interesting point.
It's
Yeah.
so it's just complete. It's all about real estate and
Huh.
zoning laws and all these other things. But when we provided somebody who needs it with the tiny house on wheels, it's worth 50, 60 grand in going down.
Huh.
We put the same thing on a permanent foundation. The moment it touches down here in the Bay Area, where it's ridiculous, it's worth 300 grand
Holy cow! For a tiny one,
for a tiny one.
that's
And the
crazy.
cost to build these on site is around 6 to 800, and we're able to do it for probably closer to 140. So literally a fourth or a fifth of what it's costing people, we do it for that. It's unbelievable what we do, and
So
the
you said
value that
hold
it
hold on
provides.
one hold back up a little. 140. So that's including every
140. Yep,
what's
it's
included
everything
on that?
all done. We charge 65 for the unit, and then we don't have any idea what it's going to take to place it because every place is different. So there's two building permits. One building permit is the factory built modular. So we build a factory built modular home. All of our school sites are actually technically factories approved by the Sacramento state level. We have to have quality control manuals. We have to have inspections. At the end, that's our permit. Second permit is site specific. We don't have any idea what site there is, but when they do have a site, they need to go get a building permit that will cover foundations, utility hookups, and access, so stairs and deck. Those three things are going to be on a second permit, and generally the cost to then place it is around $50,000 to $70,000 on top of the 65 for the unit. So then you're coming in at 130 to 140 for a small what would I call it? A studio apartment, basically.
Does it have a bathroom?
Yeah, yeah, full. It's got a bathroom and a shower, 32-inch square bath shower stall, regular toilet, and a kitchenette. They're more like if on my website, it's the one. It's the most recent one. It's like blue in color. That's the one that is the. And once you get a factory set approved, it's good for 6 years, and it costs a little bit to get the architect and an engineer, and then to have Sacramento sign off on it saying that this is a factory built modular plan. It gives you 6 years to build on that plan. Um, it's the
Wait,
one
wait,
with
6 years to
thieves.
build on that plan to make additions, modifications?
No, you can make as many as you want in 6 years.
As many of that unit?
Yeah, exactly. That's our Model A. We can crank out Model A's for 6 years.
So do you do this? This is your part-time gig, or are you getting this full-time, or
Full time at this
full-time?
point. Yeah.
Full-time
Yep.
at this point. So are you supporting yourself through this work? It's
Yep. I am. I am indeed. It's a mixed model right now. We're getting some money from the school, from the high school, because we teach two classes at the high school. So the high school pays for that. And then the nonprofit Rebuilding Together pays the remainder of my salary.
the nonprofit. You do some grant writing, or is some you have somebody on doing that?
That's right. That's exactly right. There's people writing grants and then also the selling of the homes. So that too is income.
Were you did I see that you're an engineer by training?
Yes, I never got my PE license, so it's important to make that clear. I do have a degree in structural engineering. I worked as an associate engineer for an engineering consulting firm and worked as a consulting structural designer for like 20 years. Yeah.
This is good. This is good. So you're are what are your next steps in the program? Are you trying to grow it and things like that, or
Oh, yeah, it is. It's growing. It's growing. So what I want to do, the ideal is this. I want to have what I call a hub, a regional headquarters,
mm-hmm.
which would be, let's call it a community college. So there'd be a hub community college with around an 8,000 square foot facility, and then it would be surrounded by 4 or 5 high schools, which would have around 2,000 square foot facilities. A hub would be able to crank out around 18 units per year and be able to offer a variety of programs, everything from the current high school model to boot camp. There's a bunch of different models, but everything revolves around building the units. By building the unit, you get exposure to all the different trades, and you can make an educated decision about your career path going forward.
Oh, I love it. How far
But
into
yeah,
it? Go ahead.
oh yeah, it's cranking along. We're still trying to get the hub. We've got a number of high schools, but we want to get a hub and then really refine that process, and that's what we want to scale. We want to scale the hub with the factories, the community college with the high schools. That's what we want to scale. We're still in the process. We did not nail that down and proof that out.
Very nice. Is your house design open source, or do you share the plans?
I'd have to double check. We did pay, it was probably a $30,000 venture to get them created. I don't have any personal, but I'd have to check with. It's been a wonderful thing to have Big Skills Tiny Homes, the nonprofit I founded, has merged with Rebuilding Together East Bay Network. So Rebuilding Together, there's probably Rebuilding Together in Kansas City. These are big things. So we've merged. I've merged with the Rebuilding Together here, and they have taken on all of the stuff I don't like doing, like the grant writing and worrying about insurance and all that stuff.
Okay, there is a rebuilding together Kansas City. That's a national
Yeah,
organization.
Rebuilding Together is a big national brand. Their bread and butter is helping old folks stay in their homes, making sure that the people who can't afford it are able to maintain their homes. That's their main thing. So they have a good network, typically of retired or semi-retired contractors, and they go and make sure that people are safe in their homes. They collect money from different government organizations that are looking towards maintaining the housing stock and safety, mobility, that kind of stuff. So they have
Huh.
acquired me, and I would need to check. So I have a boss now. I am instead of being the executive director, I am the program director, which has been the best demotion ever. But I would need to ask my executive director whether or not the plans are, I can share them or not. But put out an email to me. I can make the request, and it'll be a yes or a no. I don't see why it would be a no as long as you don't sell them.
Well, we like. I mean, so let's talk about how we can. I mean, how we can work together. So on one side, if you want to click on, well, we build what's called the CD home. It's a 1,375 square foot, 3 bed, 2 bath house. Comes stock with 6 kilowatts of PV, so we kind of like to push the ecological part a little
That's
bit.
awesome.
Um, Now, so let's just tell you just a little bit. So with our program, the goal is we're known for what we call extreme manufacturing, these rapid swarm builds. So, for example, the house I live in right now, it's like a 1,400 square footer. We
Yeah,
built that in a workshop with 48 unskilled people in 5 days. So we kind of like to push the swarm build method because all the panels it's modular in the sense of four
sure.
by nine panels.
Okay.
That's how we build. So with the current cohort that we're organizing for September the 1st, the goal is train my people 5 days per house. So really breaking the
That's
barriers of, and this is just
that's amazing.
yeah, site built full on everything from foundation to PV in 5 days. So we're talking about crazy radical workflow, parallel workflows in our method. Now, the other thing is we're looking at okay, what are all the other things we can do? And one thing we're saying is okay, let's do a workshop where people actually come in here for 2 months and drive away with their with their seed of the CD go home with all the core
Oh,
utilities and the hard parts, so they could build. They could start with that 256 square unit, so 8 by 16 twice on a trailer.
yes, yes.
We telehandler,
Yeah,
put it on side, or you can actually split those apart and put a roof between them, so actually have like 800 square foot space or so, whatever you like.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but that's the kind of product we're developing, and it's so that gets us into the territory of the. We don't like to call it like we do under. I've lived in a micro house, and what's the experience of a micro house? You move out in a year or two, so so
Right.
we're trying to promote. This is a starter home, less the micro house, though you can use it as a micro house. But we're starting it off with like the full setup. Like you don't put a tiny sink in there; you put a full size sink or a
Right.
full size bathroom into that basic unit. And then of course I saw your stuff. Wow. Okay, 20 trades. I love it. Let's see if we have any common ground here. So I would
Oh, that's super cool.
yeah. So we're focusing on trying to get the swarm aspect and the hardcore economics to scale this. Because if you can do this in 5 days, you're talking about some serious economics, right? So this is
Absolutely. Yeah, I have, we, for us, the education is number one. So
yeah,
we're not trying to go fast. We're trying, and we also do everything as normal. It's this normal stick framed house that out in California is probably a little different than Kansas City, but similar. Everything's standard, 2x4 walls at 16, 2x8 floor joists at 16, 2x10 rafters at 24. Try and do it as normal as possible for the best learning capabilities. But,
yeah,
if you're able to drive down price and you're able to put people in homes, there's different types of value. And what's interesting for me about what we do is we're providing workforce development and we're providing housing. It's these are two super important things
yeah.
here in the Bay Area and probably everywhere. So for you, providing, gosh, wow, 5 day swarm build, that's crazy.
Indeed. If we can recruit the team and teach people as fast as possible. So we're calling it a 4-year program. Ideally, top candidates learn all the necessary skills in like a year. Well, even at this at so our program means 2 days of actual build and 3 days of school. So it's like college.
Oh,
So it's like you're getting 6 to 12 credit units equivalent. So we teach
yes, yes.
how to design and build just about anything, learning how to learn, and learning how to be a human. So that's leadership and soft skills and moral intelligence, etc.
Oh,
So,
so something I want to take this class.
oh, me too. That's why I'm starting a school.
Yeah, right, right. That's amazing.
Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
man, if you're open to this, I'd love to see how. I mean, you're doing the same thing as ours, and you're ahead on Voltec or like the workforce training. We actually started 2 years ago on a vets program, but in the meantime, that's when we over the last 2 years, pretty much we were down Periscope perfecting the product in terms of all the interior finish detail, including
Right.
optimized plumbing, electrical, and all that, finish work, cabinetry, and all that. So we've been kind of down Periscope. So we didn't. We actually never ended up deploying the training program through the uh, what do you call it? So through the GI Bill, which
Oh,
was
yes.
our goal. We didn't get there. So, but we're still going to pursue all of that. We just haven't done it yet. But I'd love to learn from you guys on how to, how'd you get set up to your local schools and all that to get.
Oh, yes.
How do you go through all of that?
Whew. I I started by building in the parking lot of a gas station. You know,
Sounds like a
that's
plan.
that's that's where I started, and I was started with the tiny house on wheels, and uh, you, put together the stuff, and then it's kind of a weird thing. I mean, you get a lot of talking, which I don't love, but that's what it is. Lots of talking to lots of people, and making sure you know whether or not you have people who are excited about it on the administrative side. So if a school is not excited, you just move on to the next school. You're looking for people who are going to help you advance this. It's an unusual thing, not their normal class. This is something different, but something highly in demand. You have to jump through a bunch of hoops. You have to have your curriculum approved by their curriculum board. You have to do, you're working with kids. You got to get fingerprinted. Tuberculosis test. They've got all their funny little hoops that they make you jump through. But that's
Totally.
on the back end. So on the front end, it's lots of talking, trying to find people, the principal of the school, board members on the board, and then teachers who are already in the school. When you kind of get a nice little, and right now there for funding, there's two large grants that it's very easy for the schools to get. There is a strong workforce and Perkins. I believe the federal one that you should be interested in is called the Perkins grant money.
That's for
It
schools. We're a
was
501c3. Can we actually apply for that?
Oh, no, it needs to be the school. I'm a 501c3 too, but I had to get the school to
Yeah.
apply for it. Though you can help the poor school. If the school is so understaffed, you can apply for the grants for the school, but you will be required, the money will go to the school.
Sure.
That's the way it works, but you can help them get the money.
They get the money and they pay for tuitions of students.
Yeah, you got to figure out the way the funding is going to be. They have different ways where one, they can pay you as a teacher. They call that an FTE. I can't remember what that is, but uh,
Full time
uh,
employment.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A 1.0 FTE is full time employment. I was paid at a point 0.4, 40%
Yeah.
FTE because I taught only two classes, and generally a teacher teaches five. So there's the ratio there. Um, though, if I did it again, I would bargain to get an extra point one because of all the extra stuff that I do to manage the learning leaders and all this other stuff. So on future schools, we'll work on that.
Yeah,
So
just billing for the value provided.
exactly. So figuring out how to talk the school's way in terms of how the school talks about budgets, how they talk about FTE. They have a standard budgeting codes,
Yeah.
standard accounting codes. So you'd have to put together budgets that line up with the SAC, and you can go through the school. Like the school might have lots of money for materials and no money for this, and you kind of figure out which of the things the school can pay for and which of the other things the nonprofit pays for. But then, at least in our case, the nonprofit owns the tiny homes when they're done.
Yeah. And therefore revenue can come from that.
Aha, good, perfect.
Sorry about that. Therefore, you can capture the revenue on the back end if you sell the
That's
house.
exactly right. So then and then, they're aware of that. And then you will say, that, on those line items that they can't handle because they don't have budget in that line item, the nonprofit fills in some money to make it work. And
Yeah.
then the nonprofit speak, you've probably heard of MOUs. So you have to have an MOU with the school or the school district, really. How do you get it done? I don't know. Usually it's about talking.
No,
You
that's
talk with
fine. Tell
people.
me. Tell me. Yeah. I mean, obviously we'd have.
That's why we're on the phone.
Yeah. Tell me about the part where you actually going through the quality control and the certification process of this. Your actual what do you call it? Tell me more about this.
The factory built modular home.
Yeah.
So the factory built modular home, in our case in California, you get together a set of plans with an architect engineer, fully licensed, stamped. You send it in to them to do a design review. They then can approve the plans. Once the plans are approved, the other things you have to do is you have to have your quality control manual and you have to have an inspector that will come and inspect the home at key points along the build and sign off. And then at the end, they give you in California they give you this special sticker that goes on the door and says that that's been approved and to be habitable, and that the local inspector is not to inspect it. That's supposed to be
And this guy's basically a special inspector from the state or some other third party.
He's a third party
Third
inspector.
party
Yeah,
inspector.
approved by the state, licensed by the state, but not a state employee.
Exactly. Um, are they actually operating on site or at the build sites where you build the modules?
They only come. In fact, this guy he only comes twice, so it's even less invasive than my standard residential construction. He comes before the insulation goes in and the drywall goes on. He wants to see that, and then he comes at the end. So he comes twice.
Huh. So not even the foundation.
No, well, the foundation will be site specific, so we don't do the foundation at all.
Ah, so they get permits and all that for the foundation,
Yeah,
whoever the client is.
exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly right. Oh, we're
So
doing it. Yeah,
so your workflow is such that you actually expose everything. So you've got all the plumbing and wiring exposed before the drywall, and then you drywall it.
exactly right. We had to get all the rough-in utilities are there, fully visible, able to be inspected. Then the insulation, and then the drywall. Yeah.
Uh huh. Was that an issue to actually get into that work to work that out? How that's practically feasible, or that was pretty easy?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't bad. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
bad. It kind of part of it's like goes with the normal flow of the thing. I mean, you just
Huh.
schedule it in. I wouldn't. It wasn't. Yeah, it's nothing's covered up enough, so it works. It's not a problem.
How would you rate your? I mean, how far have you gone? So you actually got a third party, some engineer to design the house for you.
Correct.
You paid for that. How far do
Yes.
you think they went into build optimization, those issues of workflows and all of that? Did you have any specific
Oh, like
requirements?
almost none.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I picked the size, like outside face of stud is 8 foot by 20 foot. So that helps us a lot in terms of optimization of the, standard sheet goods coming in 4 foot sections.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but other than that, and we have a good amount of control at the architect level. We could tell the architect, we had like a few rounds with the architect talking about how we wanted things, what things we'd do. We ditched the hot water heater completely because it was blowing up our meters. I mean, no, that's not the right term. The hot water heaters that made, I don't know if you guys have Title 24. Title 24 is an energy calculation. It's in California to ensure that a building um, meets a certain level of energy efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it has requirements regarding the hot water heater size and type.
Uh-huh.
And for us to have in the tiny space, they wanted us to have basically an on-demand electric hot water heater, but it was 70 amps.
Yeah.
A 70 amp would then make the tiny house electrical panel at least 120 to 150 amps, which would force a panel upgrade to the new homeowners.
And you wouldn't be able to do, say, for example, Bosch eight gallon mini tank.
Yeah, so that's what I like. I like a little bit bigger, but yeah, 8 to 15 gallons is plenty, plenty. So, but correct, that does not qualify under the Title 24 code.
In other words, you can't do it. You're not allowed.
Well, here's what we've done. We've
Mm-hmm.
decided we're not putting in a hot water heater. The person will now do it on site. The on site permit will cover the hot water heater, which is a little annoying because we don't get to run the hot water heater, which is fun for us. But it also allows us to not to have the whole tiny house on a 50 amp panel, which could be added to a regular house without making them upgrade their whole service. So that is the trade-off we've made,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can go into more places without um, blowing up their panels. That was a term I used before.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. So you've got the model works in California for your ADUs. They're allowed statewide, right? Or
Correct.
is it certain cities
No, it's statewide.
statewide?
And you have to look at the R value requirements for where you are. The insulative requirements, like we have to have an R30 on the roof, R13 or 19 in the walls, and then 19 in the floor. Um, and Kansas you might have higher requirements. You might not be able to get away with a 2x4 wall. You might need thicker walls. Like I'm not sure
Yeah.
what you required. When you go away from the tiny house on wheels, you enter a new realm of residential building codes that you have to work with, which is a mixed bag. It comes back to that money thing I was talking to you before. It's like somebody gets something that's worth 50 grand and going down, or something worth 250 grand and going up. It's a really big difference for the person. I mean, you can imagine. That's a huge difference. Talk
Is
about two
this
hundred thousand
individuals?
dollars and growing.
Yeah. Is this individuals who already have a home and they add an ADU? So this is not like they're not splitting off any land. This is on their land and they're using it as a rental or something like that. Or
Yeah, that's right. So we've worked with the local housing authorities and land trusts.
mm-hmm.
So they actually fund the placement of these things in the backyards of low income homeowners. So we find people who are low income, having trouble maintaining their homes, having trouble staying in their neighborhoods because they can't afford it. We can get them these things, put them in their backyards,
Oh,
and we start generating cash so that they can stay.
oh, A+. Is it working?
We haven't done it yet. We've got our first two in a local town that we've all have it lined up. We will know hopefully in the end of the summer whether or not it's all real. but they have
Wow.
approved forgivable forgivable loans. If the person stays at their home for 20 years, the loan is forgiven, meaning that they can't get the thing and then sell it and take off with the cash. But if they stay there for 20 years, the loan is forgiven and they get the thing for free. If they qualify as low income homeowners. I don't know how that happens. Again,
How does
rebuilding
that?
together's problem.
And that helps them stay in the house because now they're generating revenue that they can pay their mortgage or such better.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Wow. No,
I could pay
that's
their mortgage. They could just, yep, I paid it and maintain. And yep, exactly. Just
wow.
income.
That's an equalizer. Hmm. If I ever
We'll see if
sold.
that fully fleshes out.
Oh man. That's sweet. That's kind of how I think a lot about. Okay, well, how do you get productive infrastructure into the hands of people? Besides only the 1%. So that's a fascinating question, and I'm curious how it's going to play out. But definitely, we want to position ourselves to play in that arena. It's very interesting to me. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing. You guys are talking about building bricks. You guys are talking about doing the compressors and the 20 different
Yeah.
things like that's. I don't know. I don't get people. Actually, I've had a couple survivalists who would be into what you're talking about. Is that
well,
okay to use that term? Is that term not okay?
well, well. I'm not a survivalist. I'm a thrivalist. But yeah.
Sure. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Um,
But yes, the collapsitarians are highly interested in this work.
right. Yeah.
um, so we can both solve the metacrisis singularity paradox.
Sure. Everyone's fine if they know enough.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Does does Kansas City have the ADU stuff too, or Missouri have ADUs? I don't even know.
I don't have the foggiest clue.
Yeah.
But in general, property owners have more rights in the middle of the country than they do on the edges of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think you would, I would think a property owner has the right to build an ADU on their property,
Mm-hmm.
but I cannot say for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Sometimes they run into problems with minimum sizes. There's all sorts of of issues that you can run into. And the term I talk about is local municipality. That means either the county or the city. The local building and planning departments there would
Yeah.
have regulations regarding what can be placed.
Yeah. It's even better when there is no building codes, such as in
That's
our
all.
county.
As long as long as people
Yeah.
build to a certain minimum standard
Yeah. Yeah.
and how document that and put that out there because well, that's what the codes are about. That's what the engineering is about. Hitting
Wow.
those minimums
Yeah. Yeah. When you've gotten through, so as a
works perfectly.
um, as sorry, what was the as what do you qualify as far as the distributed manufacturer? Say that word again.
Oh yes, the factory built modular home. Factory built modular home. For us, it is I'm going to say the acronym wrong. California CHD. California Home something. So there's some statewide institute that is in charge of manufacturing homes. Not federal mobile homes, which is done by HUD, but there is something with factory built modular homes. That is the term we use. Factory built modular home, overseen by in California. God, it's a 3 or 4 letter acronym.
Mm-hmm. So
CHDD, whatever.
when you started the process of becoming a factory built modular home producer, how long did it take you?
I would say 6 months. And the biggest hurdles were getting the architect and the engineer to all work together, get a good set of plans that are then submitted, and they send some revisions back to you, and then you get it in, and then that's it. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so I'm wondering how we can collaborate.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I don't have tons of people asking about the kinds of stuff you do, which I think is super interesting. Um, as things come up that I can help with, definitely, like if the plans are open source, things like that, let's get that in an email and I can ask what that is. Um, I will look at the website. Oh, please send me an email with the website so I can look at it um, and see which skills are super important to us because what ends up being important too is the curriculum, right? What do we have curriculum wise in terms of what kind of books, what kind of slideshows, what kind of library, what is there.
Mm-hmm.
And those are good things to share. Curriculum takes time to develop. Even with AI, it still takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, if your plans are open, my question also goes as far as the engineering and quality control docs. So I mean, for us, ideally, the relationship is for anybody we work with is we got open stuff, they got open stuff we share, and that's got economic value. We can replicate each other's work.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Perfect. Yeah. Put that out in an email. I will talk to my executive director. Or no, he likes to be called CEO now. He changed it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk to my CEO
Mm-hmm.
and see what he thinks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What else? I would imagine that uh, would if you got that done in California in that short time, it sounds like here it probably would be just as quick.
I would think it would be just as easy. Yeah. Or easier would be my guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Huh. Tell me about so some of the biggest learnings from this entire process. I mean, tell me more about so you're working on a hub, getting several high schools or tech schools. So getting actually a physical location, that's your next priority, or would it be kind of going to
Yes.
the high
Yeah, that's
schools?
right. Yeah, yeah. So right now the builds are at the high schools themselves, is
Uh-huh.
where we're physically operating. We have a number of those, and what we want is the our own larger space that could be at a community college or it could be somewhere else that allows us to uh, aggregate material orders. Instead of ordering for a couple of these things, order for dozens of these things. Have the lumber mills deliver directly to one location, and start to get some savings on the material side by ordering in mass quantity. That would be wonderful, as well as the way to. I want to do different styles of program. The high schools keep the program on the school calendar. They start in August and they end in June. That's what they do. So that's what our builds do. But that doesn't always match other people's needs. So we look at the needs of the people who want to learn. Some of them want to learn and get a job, and that speed is critical. So I want to have a boot camp program, 16 weeks full time, 16 weeks full time. Get them in, out, and into a good paying job.
16 weeks, you think it's enough to teach somebody the necessary skill set?
I do. I don't think anyone comes out fully competent in anything, but they actually come out knowing which of the things they want to be competent in. So no one comes out knowing how to be an electrician or a plumber or a carpenter or a painter or a drywaller or a roofer or a tile. None of them. They're not fully competent in any of them. We're not saying that, but we are saying that they've been exposed to it. They know what everything is, and they know what they want to pursue.
So you're not actually pitching this as, well, be the integrated builder who does a lot of these and say replicates these houses in another operation.
Different people are different, right? Like, so you'll have some people can do it once, and they will have taken on all the skills in the one time. But not everyone's like that. So you're seeing, you meet different people who have different types of intellects and different types of abilities to absorb information. And that's just reality. That's how people are. So there are people who have the intellect and the focus to take in all the information and retain it. I have a weird brain. I couldn't tell you how to spell anything, but I know, once I know a process, I retain it forever. That's weird. Maybe I've discovered that I'm not normal. But some people are weird like me. Yeah, so I don't expect everyone to retain everything in the amount of time, but they do know very quickly whether we all know the electrician and the plumber are different people, like fundamentally different people, and people don't know who they are yet.
Mm.
So by doing something like this, trying all the things,
Yeah.
they can see where they fit in. And it we have had architects do our program, and then they go on to become superintendents of multi-billion-dollar construction companies because they did the architecture work where they did all the line drawings, but now they actually know what those lines mean viscerally.
Oh
And the
yeah.
way that changes their ability to communicate and to read the plans and to schedule and see critical paths. And I would never have predicted that was the outcome of doing this program.
So
Was
you've had people like that who either
Yeah,
because they want to go, okay, here's I'm going to be a plumber, or I'm going to be the integrated builder or a designer or whatever.
we don't know what people want, and that's totally part of it. It is self-discovery is a huge chunk of this. Like you
Absolutely.
don't know what you like until you try it. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know what you're good at until you do it. So you have people, especially my survivalist buddies or my thrivalist buddies, who are like they want to do everything.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do, but then when it comes to the rubber hitting the road, they didn't get the electrical. They just didn't get it.
Mm.
And that's okay, to go do it once, in a, two week processes is not enough. People study electrical for their whole lifetimes. And, the electrical apprenticeship program is 4 years. This is not, it's okay to not get it in a second.
Yeah, man. So I mean, one ask would be if you're open to this and your people, your CEO, they're open to sharing the actual blueprints. The proposition is
Yes.
let's replicate. Can we do that
Let's do it. I love it. Yeah, yeah,
Can we
yeah.
do it
Send
right
the
here?
email.
Make
I
it
will
look
ask.
cool.
That's it. I would absolutely ask. I have some older plans with tiny houses on wheels that were mine from the previous iteration, which I'm happy to share.
Excellent,
Um,
excellent. And already the feedback I just heard it. Oh yeah, but you got to be a you got to have certification through some approving body, as in whatever accreditation. It has to be an accredited program. So that sounds maybe that's not the right high school, but we can because I mean
oh,
you're
you
not
can get.
so-called accredited, are you, or are you accredited?
I have a teaching credential. Yes, I have a CTE teaching credential. Yes.
Tell me more about it. What is that?
So to be a high school teacher, you need a teaching credential.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, in California, they desperately need CTE teachers. That's career technical education. So if you propose this class to them and say, I will get you a an amazing CTE class, they will provide you with the credential that you have 2 or 3 years to take these classes to clear it. That's the term they use in California. Is they will give you the CTE credential, and then you have to take a bunch of classes to clear your credential.
And what do you have to take as far as the classes?
There was a bunch of Zoom classes,
Mm-hmm.
very, they were good ideas,
How
right?
many?
So they were talking about like how to be a good teacher, how to communicate, how to reach all your students, how to grade fairly, how to do CPR, how they had things on the Constitution. They have a list of things, a list of classes that you need to take to be a credentialed teacher, and there's a two-year program. You bang it out, and there you go.
I taught in grad school. Do I get an exception? Exemption?
Maybe you have to again. It'll be a state thing.
Yeah.
It'll be all about your state. They may or may not care. They may also have a bunch of teachers and may have really harsh rules where you have to first go to grad school. I don't know what they want.
So it'll be highly context specific, but
It's going to be state
school
specific. That's
based.
right. But if you find a school that likes what you're doing and wants to do it, they will take your cause to the district. The district will say, here's the hoops you need to jump through,
Yeah,
and they'll figure out how to get you through them.
I love it. In terms of the time you had to to do your time in a CTE, how many hours did you have to commit to that to get you to clear your credential?
Let's see. I would say it was one in person Zoom class a month, which was probably 2 hours. And then you were probably asked to do another 2 hours or more per month on top of that as kind of homework or assignments. So I would have called it uh, for half a day per month is the amount of effort. And I probably was on the fast and efficient side. So other people probably took a day per month. But I did a half a day of work per month.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great. Um, Regarding the question of have you thought about spreading this to other locations, or you're just thinking about okay, this
100%.
is
No, yeah, we're expanding. We are indeed. But we want to expand through the hub to factory, the community colleges to high school model. So we want to first proof. But yeah, the answer is yes, we are. And we're expanding.
right?
We are
So
expanding.
your next step is to prove the hub model. Then after that,
Exactly.
scale that. Do you have
Exactly.
any writing on this? Did you document this in any way, or?
Oh yeah, we got lots, lots of documentation and flyers and things that we're showing people. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
totally. Put that in the email. We can share that for sure.
Excellent. And your curriculum, do you have that? I can share mine. It's largely about design guides for all any technology.
Let's see. Yeah, my curriculum is at this point not as formalized as I would like. Basically, at this point, it is a bunch of slideshows that I show the high school kids, the Google Slides,
Mm-hmm.
and then it is also the Canvas quizzes. The teachers use a program called Canvas, so the quizzes. So that's the high school side of
Wow.
things. Then the learning leader, the higher level stuff, really it's the tiny house itself is the
Yeah, yeah.
curriculum. It's that blueprints like there. That's what we do, and away we go. And then it parallels the the slideshows that are happening at the high school.
Right. And as far as the paperwork you had to once when you were just initially reaching out to high schools and everything else. I mean, you do have okay. This is like the formal. This is or your write up. So
Yep,
uh, yeah.
and we've got our curriculum and our syllabus I and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Excellent. Yeah,
yep.
yeah. I'd be excited about learning from you regarding this is how we get this into schools here because um, that's just what we're going to do in the future. You can give us a head start on that. If we,
We'd love to. We'd
yeah.
certainly love to. How would I say? Yeah, I mean, you start going to the whatever it is, like the Chamber of Commerce or the whatever the wherever the politicians hang out, or even in the schools, just knowing who are the shop teachers,
Oh
who
man.
are the yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Just talking about chambers of commerce. Just I'm just getting connected to the person who's in the chamber of commerce for St. Joseph, Missouri. Here, that's a 100,000 person town, close to us. So yeah, the concept of the chambers of commerce. I thought that would be a good vehicle because then you can say, okay, chambers of commerce, come together, get one of these operations in your town, and
that's
support it.
right.
That kind of
And
thing.
this will drive all the businesses. All the businesses need people who can repair these things. All the businesses need people who can build these things and hire these people. And this is good for your commerce in this town.
Yeah, especially if you're redesigning the system of commerce from scratch and building open source machines and everything else.
And it's
That's
nice they'll have all they'll know people who know people on the board of the school. They'll know people who are, you know,
yeah,
it's good networking thing.
yep. Have you actually gotten any people to donate land for you to, like governments saying, "Oh, hey, put me a house here."
We have not for a house. We have gotten land donated to start another factory, another school.
So
So,
you already have the site
yeah,
located.
The city of Berkeley is donating a vacant lot, and we will turn it into a factory site, not a hub site, but a factory site, a 2,000 square foot
Oh
kind of
wow,
facility, not a 5,000 square foot facility, but the smaller one. And
you
yeah,
said 2,000 square feet.
yeah. So roughly the sizes are the factories, the high schools. We need about 2,000 square feet. The hubs, the regional headquarters, we need more like 8,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Berkeley is I guess they're not technically donating it. They're, doing one of these long term leases for $1. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, excellent, excellent. That's perfect. Wow, that's a good accomplishment, right? That's you're proud of that.
Oh, it's huge.
Huge.
It's huge. It's a great thing. And then we found a local contracting companies, contractors, or it's actually a huge one. A huge company is excited to do the infrastructure project there to put in the water, the power, and some sort of shelter.
Uh huh. They're donating their services, or
They're going in their services.
nice.
So, and with all those things, they haven't. It's none of it's done yet. Like we've
Okay.
got the thing, but so I reserve my pride for when it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. I hear you too. And do you
But it,
know of similar projects that are doing the integrated build skills in your style? Because I was really refreshed to see it. I was like, okay, great, 20 trades.
Not yet, but I'm hearing of them. I'm hearing of them being on the East Coast, and I found something that I'm going to go see down in Monterey County in
Mm-hmm.
California. I'm going to take a field trip down there where somebody is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, field trip, field trip for me. I get to go check it out. So there is a school, a couple hours south of me that has doing something that I want to check out.
Do they have a website? Do you, or they're
I
small
can't
enough?
remember the name. No, no, they definitely do. But it's one of my board members is excited about it and has set it up. I can't remember the name of it. You can
Yeah.
put that in the email. Put that in the email, and I will find out the name and I can send the information about that school also.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, no, this is great.
I don't know, man. I've got to
Okay.
run. Any closing thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, let's open source civilization.
Let's do it. I'm down. I have no problem with that.
Okay. I like it.
Um, Send the email. I'll ask if we are allowed to, because I don't know. They put in a bunch of money on it, so I don't know if they're going to do it or not. But I will pitch it. I will say it's a good thing, and we should do it. And but I am at this point I am subservient to them.
I see. Uh, does the word, because we actually talk a lot about the post scarcity economy and all that, abundance mindsets is what we teach for. That's my goal for the 4 year program, is that students walk out with an abundance mindset. It's not a hippie ideal, it's a rigorous set of skills and disciplines that allow you to be a powerful, integrated human. You talk about that
What?
kind of stuff too.
Well, not at the San Rafael site. No, it's all hands-on
Mm-hmm.
building skills. But at the Branson site, we do talk about what we would call, or what they would term, social justice aspects
Yeah.
of the housing crisis. We'll talk about redlining, which is where certain people were not allowed to buy in certain areas, and we would talk about intergenerational wealth transfer and why those things have added to the housing crisis here in California.
Now, redlining was present in Kansas City. Are you suggesting that redlining is still current in some areas where you are there, or?
No, not current, but the effects are
The effects are,
significant.
yeah,
Correct. Yeah, yeah. No, no, it's no longer happening officially or unofficially, maybe unofficially.
yeah,
It's not. It's not legal,
right,
but the effects of it are real.
right. Well, yeah. For a second, I thought you lived in Mississippi there or
Oh
something.
no, no. These guys are they reckon themselves very liberal.
Yeah. All right.
Well, no. I look forward to your email, and I will absolutely reply.
Sean, thanks so much for your time. We'll be in touch. See you
Sounds
later.
perfect, my good man. Keep up the good fight.
Yep.